Get off my lawn.
All right, guys, welcome back to It Came From GenX. So we piloted this extra segment. Actually, we've been kind of working into the normal show. Last week we did it as a separate segment, and we're just going to keep messing around with it and see how it evolves. So we're doing it as a separate segment here that you're hearing on our podcast, or you could be watching us on YouTube right now. So separate
Or
segment.
Facebook.
Or Facebook. Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely right. So again, these are things that Keith kind of introduced the topic of. These are things that we find extra interesting, things that we want to complain about, things that we just want to talk more about from our Gen X perspectives beyond current events. And we thought we'd call it the Gen X Get Off Our Lawn segment.
Get off my lawn.
That's it. It's again, if you don't like it, you don't find it interesting, get off our lawn. Right. So
there you go.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you go use the word complaint. I think that would be very accurate with a title like Get Off My Lawn. We also kind of making fun of ourselves as the old guy who's opening up the screen door with his robe on, yelling at the kids. So these are our complaints. These are the things that we see every day that we want to fuss at you young whippersnappers about. All right. So that being said, the subject matter for today is customer service. Customer service. There's still such a thing.
Yeah, we talked about this a couple episodes ago. It's just like is customer service continuing to dwindle? Do you still get good customer service? If you have, do you have any companies that tend to give it to you? And what are some reasons if you think it's dwindling or declining, even not dwindling, but declining customer service, good customer service? Why do you think that is? What are some of the factors in why you think customer service is in the decline? Or nope, I don't agree with any of that. I feel like it is still pretty stable. And I don't know what everybody else is talking about when they say customer service is getting worse. So, yeah. Skinner, what do you think about? Do you feel customer service is declining? If so, what do you think are some factors in thinking that way?
Well, it's funny because I get accused for not having customer service in my line of work. And I am far from customer service for what I do, but I think it's declining. Whatever happened to the customer's always right concept? I think that went out the door 15 years ago, probably. And truthfully, I think it went out the door when technology took over. When you have to hit 10 buttons to talk to a live person, you've got an irate person on the phone just wanting to talk to somebody about what could have been a very minimal point. Could have been very minimal, but because of trying to get into a live voice, you just went from a mild problem to an escalated problem.
I don't want to interrupt you, but I just got to tell you, brother. Yesterday, I was on hold for 30 freaking minutes, and 10 of those minutes were, if you want to talk to this, hit this. You want to talk to that. I had to hang up and call 4 times because I got led to a place I didn't want to be because of that crap, and I was irate by the time you came to the phone. Good point. Good, Skinner.
So I don't know what else to that I could add it because I think that's where this stems from. I think technology when I took over and can't get to a live person, then you get a live person over in India and there's a language barrier. That's another factor that runs into it. I think it's a little combination of everything. What happened to the old-fashioned call centers from Houston, Texas, talking into a person that can speak very good English? You don't have to be an American to speak very good English. But so anyways.
Okay. Those are great points. So I don't want to regurgitate what you just said. I'm going to give some a new perspective. I think it's certainly declining, but only in certain places. I think I see a major decline in places with high turnover rate. Because these are people who are making minimum wage or a little bit more. They don't care. They lose that job, they'll get another one, in a similar place. If you get fired at Dollar General, you'll go to Family Dollar or whatever. also I see a decline because management is so weak nowadays. Managers, I remember managers when I was young, they were, 50, 60 years old, experienced people. Now you got 25-year-old managers, don't know anything about how to treat people or how to talk to people. And, they're not training people well. I see very poorly trained people. They don't know how to talk to people. They don't know how to count change backwards. They don't have any of these skills when dealing with people in public. So some places, it is alive and well, but places with higher turnover rates are certainly a decline. We walked into this new restaurant over on Highland Square. Fisher and I did with a high school friend a couple weeks ago, and I'm gonna put them on a pedestal, the Twisted Milk, and I didn't get off the carpet, past the front door before they were greeting me, making me feel welcome. Just treated us great, and that's how they did everybody. And I was so happy to see that. And these were very, very young people. Yeah. But I'm going to say something that's going to tick some people off, but we don't pull no punches here on this show. And I'm going to tell you right now, I live in West Akron, and I'm going to tell you the majority, not all, but the majority of the problems around here are young Black women. They have the funkiest attitude I have ever seen. They don't greet you, and they're always angry. And if you say anything wrong, man, there is no reservation to cuss you out or even fight. And I don't understand that. So you guys ain't got to say it. I'll say it. And I don't care who doesn't like it. Prove me wrong. Not everybody. It's not all of them. But that's the thing I see. I walk into these stores, if it's a young white girl or even a guy, how you doing? They greet you. But the young Black women around here are so angry. Maybe I understand it's the plight that you're having in your life or whatever. But whatever happened to leave your problems at home? I don't care what your problems are. In a professional world, you can't afford to take them to work with you. So, in that situation, there's certainly a decline. Also, because of Skinner mentioned technology, everything's recorded now. People want to put stuff on the internet. Employees like to fight with customers. They'd rather make a video than keep their job and treat a customer right and have it get a bunch of likes. So there's all kinds of reasons, but it certainly has declined in the lower income, high turnover places.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. It's like if you have a big business, it's really it's a lot of it what companies want to, what they want to, and or what they're able to invest in customer service. So, I've worked for call centers myself. I've ran big floors of people, and for taking calls for major internet providers and technical providers. And you're right. I mean, speaking from our environment, the company was barely paying people, and you guys already touched on this. We get people that come in and, like you say, they can get another job somewhere else. You want to try to teach them to care about the business as much as the business itself that hired you to do the job. That is very, very difficult to do. And it's a much cheaper for organizations, certainly, to outsource work overseas. And obviously, with that, you get a whole other level of challenges. You get you mentioned language barrier a little bit, but again, you're still trying to get people to take calls for you, and you expect that they care about your business as much as you do, and that is very, very difficult, if not impossible, to do. So there's certainly very, very talented people overseas, very, very smart people, people that do a great, great, great job. But it's a lot of it comes down to dollars and cents with some of these bigger companies. And then with the small businesses, as you guys mentioned, I agree with you. It's what expectations you set forth for your employees. It's the training that you provide, and trying to find the right people to treat your customers with respect. And if you get that good experience, and I agree with you, Keith, with that restaurant in Highlands, I'd go back there again.
Absolutely.
Food was good.
I want to say something. I always say I want to be fair. My mom, who's also my pastor, teaches us to balance things. I want to be fair when I say this. I read an awesome meme today on Facebook that said, we're always saying what schools ought to teach our kids, but we should worry more about what we teach them in the home. So even though we talk about the managers don't train these employees like they should or it's thorough, That should be learned at home. When my son moved to California and my nephew, who just moved out of state a couple of days ago, I gave them both the same exact advice. I said, keep God first in your life. And the second thing I told them was how you treat people is everything.
Mm-hmm.
When you leave a room, you walk into a room full of people, leave them better than you found them. I don't care if you provide a service, you make them laugh, conversation, whatever. If you keep that in your mind, how you treat people, because my mom always told me one thing growing up. She said, your reputation always goes before you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's true. I've gotten to places where they've never met me, but they heard about me. And it was all good things because I was raised on how to treat people, how to have manners, how to be polite. When I grew up, I had friends who would tell me that their mom said I was the only one allowed to be over when they were at work because I made it a point when I walked in the house, hi, Mrs. Jones, how are you? You
Mm-hmm.
know, that's how I was taught. And so at home, these lessons are not being taught, and it translates in the workplace.
Yep.
I'm a firm believer in what comes around goes around, and it goes right up with what you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, do you guys think that we talked about Richard Branson recently and going up into space, but I read some comment that he had or some quote that he had recently, or I don't know where it was from, but I read a quote from him recently. I'm trying to say, and he said something along the lines of, people just talking about customer service, right? He basically said, I take care of my employees. Take care of your employees first. If you do that, they will take care of the customers. To him, it was as simple as that. You treat your employees well, your employees care about your business, and then
That's the way
that
it
in
has to
turn
be.
passes on to
That's a great formula.
Do you find that some companies are kind of forgetting that formula, where they sort of expect more
Like
and
I
more and
said,
more out of their
when
people? And
when you got a bunch of I talk to these people at the Family Dollars and Dollar Generals,
mm-hmm.
and you look upset. What's the matter? What's the matter? And they'll tell me, I've been working. I'm on my 60th hour this week because they have the high turnover rates, or the company don't pay well. The company doesn't offer this, so they naturally have an attitude when they're at work.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's definitely true. When you're treated well and you feel good, you're going to treat the customers good. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
part of the problem is the fault of these companies, especially the ones that offer very, very little money. But this notion that because somebody's in a dollar store spending, little money, that they should be treated any less is absolutely ridiculous. Just think of how like you said, I'd go back to Twisted Milk because of how we were treated. And the food was great, But before I tasted the food, I was impressed by when I walked through the door of how I was treated. Now, some of the places like Dollar General, they have a rule of thumb that when you walk in, they have to speak to you. You know, sometimes it's sincere, sometimes it's very dry, but that's fine. When I worked at Best Buy, we had what we call the 6-foot rule, not the one we have today because of COVID. But that rule was if you were 6 feet within a customer, you had to ask them if they needed any help. And how many times do you go to a place where I know I get it, especially as a black man, they're staring right at me. Nobody offers me any help. I have to go somebody working. So some places it's because of attitude, it's because of poor training, it's because of low income, and then some places you have a bunch of racist, high end snobs. If you don't look like you have enough money or whatever, but people nowadays are taking it into their own hands instead of saying, hey, I'm here to represent this business. And that's the lack of thinking that's missing, because I was always taught, treat this business like you own it.
Yeah, right. So do you feel like if some of these companies would maybe pay a little bit more or offer a little bit more, get the right clientele in there to stay? Yes, you're paying more money into your workforce, but maybe you're not recycling as many people.
It shouldn't
You're
have
keeping
to be,
people
but
around.
Right.
Yeah, and maybe you got to invest more with benefits or something like that to keep people around. But over time, though, is that less expensive than training people
I don't
over
have the
and over and
numbers in
over
front of me,
again?
but I've
Yeah.
often thought about it. If you did it, you would get a better clientele of hirees, first of all, I think. And you would keep them a little bit longer if they were making a decent wage. And you would think they would make an effort to keep that job, because they were making a pretty decent wage. It's got to be cheaper than the high turnover rate that you got to train. And when you train, that means you got more than people at work than you need, because you got the trainee, the person that has to train them.
That's right.
So
recruiters, trainers, the whole bit.
It would have to be cheaper.
Sure. Yeah, it's interesting. Now, we talked about this too. Some companies, because of COVID and the extra benefits that are being offered to not work right now, are having a hard time hiring people, in part perhaps because what they offer in relation to what people could make in unemployment. Some people are just choosing to keep earning the extra money because they want to or need to right now. And some companies are offering more money now and extra benefits and sign-on bonuses and different things to try to attract workers. So, I mean, maybe too soon to tell, but do you think that in a weird way, COVID and the extra benefits and all that will make a positive impact with some companies offering more for employees, or it's just they're going to hire them and it'll go back to the way it was sooner than later? Any thoughts on that, guys?
I think it's going to go back to the way it was. They're just now pressing for people to keep their doors open, so they're going to pay a little bit extra. But through natural osmosis and turnover, they'll probably go right back to the way their old practices are.
Okay, first of all, Skinner, do not use words like osmosis. That's so not cool. All right. I agree with Skinner. I think it's going to go back to the way it is, or the way it was. I don't see anything that would indicate that there would be a change. You have to have some numbers in front of you to see what a dollar store profit margin is, what they could do to do better. Because I think maybe paying better and not having these people work so many hours would benefit them. I also think paying that extra money for off-duty policemen to stand in some of these places would help keep out a lot of the riffraff and stop all of the shoplifting that's going on. The one in my neighborhood, you used to be able to walk in and make a left and go up the cooler aisle. Now you can't. You got to go all the way down and come around. They got like a little wall of products. And I said, who did this? This is so stupid. And the cashier told me we had to, because people were just filling up their carts and running out the door. I mean, seriously. So, you compare the bad service, the bad clientele. I would think more people would want to come to a place where they feel safe. So I think if you paid more and if you paid for those officers, I think you would have a better business and a better profit margin.
Okay. Very good. No easy answer. Have you had, for the sake of, we're running out of time here pretty soon, but have you had any recent, beyond the twisted melts, excuse me, we talked about, any recent positive customer service stories that you guys want to mention here before we run out of time here? Or does none come to mind? If it's okay if none comes to mind,
well, I went to, my car was at A Plus Auto on Cuyahoga Falls Avenue. And found out that the last people who worked in our car cut some corners. And I tell you what, they treated us great there. Understood that we were not as financially as we'd have liked to be, and they, took some price off, rewrote the bill for us because I was a little short. And then after all those repairs, offered 6 months or so roadside assistance, something like that, and all this other stuff. And it was just great customer service. Just Larry is the man that owns the place, and just treated us really great. So I appreciated that.
Very good. Excellent. Skinner?
I've been a hermit for the last year and a half, so I don't really have much. All my experience, unfortunately, has been at the hospitals with Cleveland Clinic, and they've been nothing short of spectacular.
Yeah, they're awesome. They're great.
From the emergency room, when I first went into my surgeon who did the reconstructive surgery on my hand, their bedside manners, the way they do business at Cleveland Clinic is top notch. that's really as close as it comes for me for customer service as of late.
Okay, very good.
Okay.
What was that place we went to, Skinner, for when Logan was in town? The Foundry.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the Foundry out in Medina.
The Foundry in Medina, Ohio. So it's like you dine and there's like cool games and all kinds of different things there. We had a large group of at least 10 of us, right, Skinner? Something like
Sounds
that.
right.
Anyway, the young server they had, this young lady was just completely on it. I mean, she checked on us constantly. She verified your order. She was prompt. She got everything correct. She wrote things down. I had to tell her personally at the end of the night. I said, "Listen, I just want to commend you because we had a large party here and you were terrific. Thank you for everything that you did." And she's like, "Oh, thank you very much." But just those types of experiences, I would definitely go back there. And in fact, when I was telling people about the Foundry, one of the things I mentioned specifically was not just the cool environment, was the great service that we were provided, and that was part of, without even thinking about it, because she made that impression. Investing in your people, investing in the training, right? That setting the right expectations. You get an experience like that, people will go out, and that's the best thing,
Treat
as we all
people
know,
right.
for any business, and word of mouth to get recommendations and pull other people in there. So,
Can I tell a quick story?
Yeah.
Years ago, when I was married, and they had what we know as Rocket on the River down in Cocco Falls. Thousands of people gathered down there for music, entertainment, and of course they had the beer trucks. This is when I used to drink, and one day my wife and I went down, and we were standing in line to buy tokens, and this man looked at us and he said, "Come here," and he went behind the truck, and he comes back and hands us a mug full of tokens. And me being a musician, thinking it was just somebody who saw me. Of course, I couldn't remember them. And I just faked it like, "Thanks, brother. Good to see you again," whatever. And we're like, "Hey, great." So the next week we go down, same guy spots us, does the same thing again. So he did this like 3 or 4 times. After like the 4th time or so, he walked into me and goes, "You don't have a clue who I am, do you?" And I said, I really don't. He goes, "You probably wonder why I've been so good to you and give you all these tokens." I say, "Yeah, I'd like to know." He said, "On the worst day of my life, I had just got divorced. And I was at Best Buy, which is where I had worked at the time." And he said, and I was up there with my 3-year-old kid, and he was all over the place. I couldn't control him, and I forgot what he had to purchase. And he was working with another employee, and he said, "You saw what I was going through and came over and took my kid and played with him for like 30 minutes and kept him out of my hair." And it meant so much to me because I was really losing my mind at the time. And I was like, wow, I didn't even think twice about it, but that's what customer service do for you.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, I can't think of a better way to end this segment. No easy answer, a lot of factors, but that we all agree that positive service is worth the investment, and you remember that as a customer, and it has a way to come back and repay you in positive ways. So hopefully some of these companies learn from that and can do better for us consumers out there, especially as we're getting back out there as the pandemic hopefully continues to, hopefully it winds down, but we won't get into that right now. But anyway, good stuff here, guys. So, all right, Skinner, you want to take us out?
Yep. Hey, so for Brian Fisher and Keith Porter, I'm Michael Skinner, and we appreciate you guys listening. Stay tuned for another episode next week of Get Off Our Lawn.
Get off my lawn.
Very good. If you guys have suggestions, by the way, reach the show on our Facebook page, or It Came From GenX 330@gmail.com. Love to hear suggestions on what do you want to hear us talk about and get off our lawn topics in the future. So
and
thanks for your support.
Young black girls, you want to chew me out, you know where to find us.
Yep.
Yep, right there. All right. Have a great week.